Welcome to Emerging Tech Horizons. I'm Dr. Mark Lewis, the Executive Director of NDIA's Emerging Technologies Institute. And with me today is Dr. Tim Persons, the GAO Chief Scientist and a Managing Director for the Science, Technology, Assessment, and Analytics team at GAO. Few words about that organization, although I think Dr. Persons will be giving us many more details in the course of this podcast. But it's a team that conducts technology assessments, provides oversight of federal science technology programs, provides technical assistance on science and technology issues for Congress, and also develops innovative analytical techniques for carrying out audits and evaluations. A relatively new organization at GAO, and I think maybe I'll be a bit presumptuous to say I think part of it was inspired by the old OTA, the Office of Technology Assessment, that many of us look back on fondly. Tim joined GAO in July of 2008. Prior to that, he served in key executive roles at the Intelligence Advanced Research Projects Activity, IARPA, and at the National Security Agency. Received his Bachelor of Science in Physics from James Madison University, Master of Science in Nuclear Physics from Emory University, and a Master of Science in Computer Science and a PhD in Biomedical Engineering from Wake Forest University. So, Tim, again, welcome to our podcast. Again, really appreciate your time in discussing your organization and your role in supporting the government. Could we start off with could you offer our audience first a broad description of GAO, and then we'll talk in particular about what the Science, Technology, Assessment, and Analytics team does?
Sure, Mark, and thanks again for having me on. It's great to reconnect with you, and great to have worked with you in science and tech issues over a number of years, especially at the strategic level. GAO is the largest of the legislative branch agencies. There's only a handful of those. Capitol Police is well known, our sister agency, the Congressional Research Service, or the Library of Congress, the Congressional Budget Office are other examples, but we are largest in terms of FTE count, and we have the oversight mission. We're considered, or we're simply called, the watchdog for the U.S. taxpayer, so it makes us quite popular with taxpayers and good government groups and things like that, because we help Congress oversee the federal government wherever the federal dollar is spent. There's very few exceptions that are our ability to audit or be able to analyze, especially executive branch or usually executive branch spending or programs or projects or what have you. Very few things that are outside of our remit. So it's a great agency. It covers the entire government, and it's best think of it as my boss, the Comptroller General, is essentially Inspector General for the federal government. So that said, we do have IGs that we have relationships with, we're very close with and coordinate with. So we're not the only thing, but we're definitely our Congress's element working for the oversight. I will also say, really, we're also best thought of as a professional services organization for the Congress and the government. We do more than just oversight. We do insight and foresight things. That's particularly present on my team, and I'm happy to say more about that. But in other words, most of what you see at GAO is auditing you. Like, I know, Mark, you've seen us come in and audit, but we also do a lot of things on best practices, or we're now doing things in data analytics, for example, in my team on that. And then we also do things in foresight. So trying to see things ahead of time is very important. And I particularly like the title of your show, the Emerging Technologies Institute. So I think that's a good appropriate
Yeah,
time and title.
yeah, excellent. Thank you. And I obviously have worked with GAO over the years. When I was in the Pentagon, you did a couple of reports that I thought were just simply spot on, including one on hypersonics that I thought really pointed out some opportunities as well as challenges. So again, great to have you on board. Tell us a little bit. Let's zoom in on the particular mission of the Science, Technology, Assessment, Analytics team, STAA. I know it's a relatively new organization. Can you tell us the genesis of it? Was it created to fill an existing gap? And how do you fit in with the larger GAO enterprise?
Yes, so thanks. And it is our newest, GAO's newest formal team, a full team for science tech assessment. Our middle name is TA. We can talk about that also because you mentioned OTA. And then the new thing is analytics. We're about
Hmm.
3 years
Hmm.
old. We're started in 2019, but we had precursor activities in terms of science. This is in our first, since 2019 only have we been working in science tech issues. It's far from it. This is a matter of emphasis and an organizational formalism to elevate the issues of science and tech. And in fact, the Comptroller General, Gene Dodaro, made it a part of his confirmation hearing years ago. We're talking about a dozen years ago, or at least a decade ago. Was during his confirmation hearing was saying that he wanted to make science and tech a key issue. So that has come to pass. A lot of it is because we're all not only seeing but feeling the effects of science, tech, and innovation on society. Both the, like you said before, Mark, on it's both the opportunities and the challenges. There's always that double-edged sword, especially with emerging tech, and that's kind of our job. So our remit is wherever science to tech goes. We even if we don't, you mentioned the hypersonics work. We've done a small bit of science and tech work on that, and something we call S&T spotlights is just a two-pager. Those are meant to be quick turnaround explainers, the kind of things that we do. But there's also the bigger work that we do in oversight that our sister teams cover and have been doing for a long time. I mean, GAO is 100 years old, so we've been about half of our history. We've been doing science and tech, so we've been around for a while. It's just a matter of emphasis and focus, and especially in today's world when we really are talking about that digital and innovation economy that we've never seen before. So that's the gist of our team and what we do. The oversight, insight, and foresight in all things science and technology is the way to think about us. So it's both terrifying and exciting at the same time of a mission because it's so broad, but very important, as
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah, absolutely, incredibly valuable to have that expertise available. How do you get tasked? How do you pick the projects that you work on? Who requests them?
Right. No, great question. We get a lot of our input from the Congress. So part of it is our routine engagement with our client base on the Hill, which is quite broad. And but we usually initiate our work by letters of request from committees of jurisdiction. It is possible, and we do work, especially in the professional or on-demand consulting for individual members. But usually for big work, for our larger reports and things, that's often initiated by the committees because they're the ones that can legislatively move things forward typically. And the fact that we have 535 members, and so there's always I've never seen a scenario, nor do I ever expect, where we'll not have enough things to work on or to do, and we'll be looking for something as an institution. So it's constantly a queuing and priority conversation we have in relationship with the Hill about what is the most important things for them. And so most of our work starts from them, but where there is a small bit of work that is done on mandate. And that's of course a very strong thing that'll say, for example, the recent National Defense Authorization Act or NDAA would have a number of things that it would say GAO shall do X, Y, and Z, and so we do mandates. And then lastly, there's a very small part, but it's important, is that the Comptroller General has the ability to start something because it's important. A lot of times it's broad or cross-cutting. Think of AI, for example. AI is very big as a topic, artificial intelligence, machine learning. It has defense applications, homeland security applications, education applications, healthcare, et cetera. So it covers so many things. A lot of our AI work, for example, that we've led, or that my team has done, is was started in that way. So we have those three ways of things: the mandate, the request letter, which is the 80+% dominant number of ways we start jobs, and then there's the third way is the Comptroller General. Sure. Yes, no, great. CRS is a great sister agency. They're very deeply embedded. Of course, they're based in the Library of Congress. They're deeply embedded with the clients, and they have a deep and broad knowledge about legislative histories and things like that. So a lot of times the context is for CRS is what is uh, the legislative impact of doing X, Y, or Z, or what is known about what's already in statute, what might we do in statute, and what may we be able to do on that. And CRS typically has for their formal reports, they move at a rapid pace at times, and so when we do audits and things, we have to engage with the executive branch as we did with you. We have certain access and protocols and so on. So our audit work is distinct in that way from CRS. Coming out of typically again out of statute. Now they also have a very good science and tech group that we coordinate with. It's actually in our protocols that when they do work on something, we always check and say, hey, what do you have on this? It only recently was the case, as you may know, that CRS's reports were made public. So, and that's good for us because there's many times I could not even cite them, even though I would read their work, which is I thought was very good. We're now able to do that. But that said, on the science and tech side, we have a large team. I think size-wise, we have a strong foresight in our tech assessment portfolio, a foresight posture. And we also have the oversight function of just again being able to access to that. That is a little bit distinct from CRS. Does not have the same kind of audit and access authorities we do. So, in short, my team STAA is well when GAO is doing its work across that oversight, insight, and foresight spectrum, we have certain oversight abilities that our sister institutions like CBO and CRS do not, even though they have very unique and important missions for the Congress. They do great analysis for the Congress. It just depends on the types of questions. So if oversight questions are asked of GAO, we often will do that. If it's what's known in statute about issue X or something, or if we were to pass this law, what might this mean in terms of implications of that? And for the budget, that would be CBO. For just, I guess, legislative insight or confidential consultation to individual members, that CRS does that. I think does that very well. But we're a little bit at times bigger in our studies of our scope, and with this new Spotlight series we're doing explaining of science and technology, I have a lot of people with PhDs with science and engineering degrees and so on available to the Congress to help meet both the oversight needs for S&T as well as that tech assessment need that used to be done by OTA, which I'm happy to
Yeah, I'd
talk about
love
that.
to hear about. Yeah,
Since you mentioned that
yeah,
at the
yeah. I'd
top,
love to hear
Mark.
about that. Let's talk a little bit about OTA because that.
Sure.
Yeah,
So
go ahead.
yeah, so those of you who don't know, the Office Tech Assessment lived between 1972 and 1995. It was defunded in the 104th Congress. And the previous Comptroller General, it came to us. I liken it to the baby left on the doorstep. It was the Congress came in 2001 timeframe and rang the doorbell and said, "We need you to do this." I think Congress was already recognizing that we already had a standing capability to do in science and tech analysis, right? It was mostly focused on oversight questions, oversight issues that GAO works on, and so they were asking us to add to that portfolio the tech assessment piece, which really when you look at the founding documents and the core practices of OTA, as we have carefully done to reconstruct the capability, that capability resides with my office now. We're proud to have it, and hopefully we're doing right by all the great work standing on their shoulders of giants from years ago. Our job is to really look at those in a foresight oriented way, the ethical, legal, social implications of science, tech, and innovation on science, society, the environment, the economy, etc. And we're looking for at least those primary interactions, those primary implications to policy, as well as maybe even secondary if we're pushing for it. But we've done a lot of work in TA. It's been around at GAO for 2 decades now, so it's not a brand new thing. I think the newness for us is again, just like STAA standing up, is the emphasis and the amount, the volume. We're seeing a lot of interest in things, and we've covered the whole spectrum of bio, info, nano, and cogno. If you want to use all of those, we've done life sciences oriented tech assessment. We're doing one, for example, on regenerative medicine now. As one example, we've done computational, like the info things. We've done a lot on AI. We did one on something I know that's near to your heart, Mark, is quantum information
Hmm.
technologies and those sort
Hmm.
of
Hmm.
things, right? We think about those issues. And then the on the nano, a lot of physical science stuff. We've done nanotechnology. We've done all kinds of issues. So sustainable chemistry, lots of things, various committees and jurisdictions. Anyone can look up and just type in their favorite search engine, GAO technology assessments. You'll have a whole list of things that we have done, but we're doing some exciting work and continuing to grow that area.
So about how many? What? How large are you? About how many staff members right now?
Right now, we're over 130
Wow.
FTEs, so I think we're nearing 140 by the end of this fiscal year. Our target was
Wow.
140.
Wow.
That is from a government staff FTE that benchmarks closely with OTA, even though TA is not the only thing we do. But I just want to be clear that a lot of what we do across that oversight, insight, foresight of S&T, we're on par with that FTE count. We don't use contractors the way OTA
Hmm.
used to do
Hmm.
forest studies, but we do have an ongoing effort to build our science networks and so on to expand because we know as smart as the folks are that we're hiring, we know that we can't cover everything in the universe. So we have in our building ways to have reach back capabilities to folks who understand Congress, understand S&T policy, understand issues to help us do our job better, quicker, faster, et cetera. So that's where we are in terms of our numerical headcount today.
Did most of those were those mostly new hires? Did they come from other parts of GAO? You it sounds like you built up an incredible organization in a relatively short span of time.
Yes, thanks. They're mostly new hires, mostly outside of GAO. And that's because a lot of the folks we're hiring are trained in PhDs in sciences, but a number of them have been in key programs like they might have been affiliated with Tech Congress Fellows. Certainly the longest standing entity that we've been connected with is the AAAS, the American Association for the Advancement of Science, and they have a robust fellows program that has been going years on end, doing things where staff that have worked the Hill. So we're having and seeing an increasing recruitment base, and there are schools that are dedicated toward not only having a science degree, but having some specialization, even graduate degrees on science and tech policy. So that's typically our ecosystem that we've been recruiting from. But these are people that were coming in from the outside to hire in, to meld in or to merge in with the science and tech policy expertise that we've had for decades. So it's a nice fusion of new talent and new technical skills, as well as GAO's standing ability, soup to nuts, on great policy analysis wherever it may need to go to answer the questions Congress gives
Excellent.
us.
You gave us a couple of examples of the areas that you've been working. Do you have a list of priorities? Are there other current activities that you can tell us about?
Sure. So let me speak in two dimensions. One is in our capabilities. I mentioned, I'll start with, again, tech assessments are the big foresight reports. We have a number of jobs going on there. Like a few other examples in that space. Um, uh, Environmental effects of satellite constellations, right? So thinking about the environmentalism of what we do on orbit is that topic. Uh, Pandemic origin technologies. So this is not about a study to just look at who done it and that to try and we have no, of course, authority to audit the Wuhan Institute of Virology or China for that matter or anything else, but we can look at how might we have technologies to better see and surveil those sort of things in the future. We also have, just because again, this is this is just more in the national security space, but we also are looking at forensic technologies for chemical weapons. So those sort of things, a lot of the CBRNE area, chem, bio, rad, nuke, explosives, we do a lot of work in that area on tech assessment. So that's examples of kinds of things that we've been doing there. PFAS, forever chemicals, right? The per and polyfluoroalkylide substances, which have been used in foam, firefighting foams on DoD installations, right? There's concerns about the health effects of that. So anyway, that's TAs. We also do, I mentioned spotlights, and those are these quick, we like to have a cycle time of 6 to 8 weeks on that, which is very rapid for us to be able to put together a 2-pager to explain it, to talk about the opportunities and challenges, and then really at the end, the payload of these little 2-pagers are talking about the policy implications. So it's just showing the members, our clients, here's what you may have to deal with in these advances. So you might not have thought about this, but this is what this may mean for you. And then if they're interested on more, and they have become on a number of our spotlights, they ask for bigger work, and then we dive deeper and we do a bigger study. But we've done dozens of these since they were started just after the team's founding, and they're very popular because they're so readable. They're designed to be consumed in less than 5 minutes if you want to be able to do that. And again, printed double-sided if you're still printing things, and our member offices still do, right? You'll flip it over. It's a single sheet of paper, right? So you're not carrying a book, you're not referencing that. It's quickly absorbable and quickly explainable. So again, massive array of stuff that we've done in this area, deep fake videos. We did do some quantum technologies work in that area, but other things, we did about 7 or 8 of those, anything related to coronaviruses. Think about all, vaccine safety, genomic sequencing, lots of things in the pandemic. We're trying to meet that real-time need to say, here's what is a messenger RNA, a viral platform, for example. So those are the kind of things that we were doing with spotlights. And then there's the classic, I'll say in our oversight area, the classic GAO audit. We do a lot of science and tech. We've been doing strategic audits at the level. There's a very big one coming out in the near future on the global semiconductor supply chain issues, right? So that's obviously has had big DoD concerns, and we've done a lot of great institutional work on that. But there's also now, if you try and buy a car, you know that chip shortages are now pressing a lot of the commercial civilian space. So in any case, we're doing work on that, on drug incentives and therapeutics. We're doing a lot on research security. How do we, protect the basic research that we invest in here, and it's not just all absorbed by China and monetized elsewhere, let's say. Those are the sort of things we do in the oversight. And then the last thing I'll just say in our insight area is that we do best practices. So some of GAO's most popular products of all time, some ones that have been translated into foreign languages, has been our best practice guide series. So that's life cycle cost estimating. This is schedule risk analysis. It's now tech readiness assessment, and now agile software. And we're even thinking about even trying to put one out on cloud IT best practice guides for human capital acquisition and then cybersecurity. So all best practice guides are great because they're what the boss, my boss, the comptroller general calls open book tests, where we show agencies, if we're going to audit you in some future on things, we're saying these are the things we're going to look for, the criteria and so on. And they're pleasingly built because they're done with very smart folks like in all the cost estimators that may have been in practice with DoD, for example, or DHS or Department of Energy or what have you, folks who practice the area, and we build those. They're very popular because they're how-to guides. And then lastly, there's other thing if you want to talk more about it. Our newer thing is the second A in STAA is analytics. That's our innovation lab, and so that's how we really are doing a lot of digital services based innovation in that area to really help the congressional expand the congressional footprint of evidence-based policymaking, right? Everything GAO does is a reason, and it's a compliment you said, Mark, earlier, we're spot on. We are, because we're nonpartisan, fact-based, non-ideological. We do everything based on data, on evidence. And so what happens though in the era of big data, or where Google's a verb, for example, all these things. How do we apply that to help our lawmakers do their first branch functions, the Article 1 functions of our oversight and spending and things like that. So we're doing a lot on that area, and it's very exciting. And I'm happy to say more about
Yeah,
that if you'd
absolutely.
like.
One thing I would like to ask, though, I know many of our members at the National Defense Industrial Association are going to be interested in your products and in your reports. Is there a way that they can have access to your products? Are they government only? Are they generally available?
No, great question, because we have you can go to gao.gov now and get the vast majority of STAA's work right now, downloadable fully. Uh, that's what's available to all NDIA, all of NDIA's membership today, right? And as we put out more of these things, we'll announce and put things out. By the way, we'd be happy to, because we want to make sure associations, critically important associations like NDIA, are at least aware of. Like you said, hypersonics is very important. We want to make sure folks are aware. We know it's a shared problem or shared opportunity and shared problem. So across sectors and across disciplines and practices and agencies and so on. So those are available now. You can go to GAO.gov, look at our work, but you could also just say GAO S&T Spotlights in your favorite search engine, and that'll come up, or GAO Tech Assessments or Technology Assessments, that'll come up. You can type in GAO and insert some topic, and you'll probably see a number of reports that come up on your favorite search engine. So lots of ways that you can see things. Very few of our things do not see the light of day.
Excellent. Do you do classified reports, or are you strictly unclassified?
That's part of we do classified reports.
Mhm.
Obviously, those won't be on our website
Yeah,
publicly, but
I would
they
hope not.
are
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, they are submitted to our clients, and we brief them, and we do up to SCI level work. So we do top secret and important work like that, just wherever, if it needs to be done, if the armed services, the appropriations, the intel committees, homeland security committees, all of those folks that oftentimes need that classified work, then we do that work. And again, across many of the topics that have already been mentioned, whenever we need to. We want our members, the committees, to just be burdened only to ask the question, what is it you need to know? A lot of times we might have some insight on it. Sometimes it's pick up the phone and just talk, or we'll come brief, that kind of thing. Other times it's we need to do a big study on this, and again, we're there to meet the client needs.
Excellent. So I mentioned our members are going to be interested in your products. Is there a way that our members or the defense industry at large can actually help you in building your products?
Yes, so that's excellent. I mentioned our S&T networks. We do want to have an ability to reach out and connect with associations. We are already connected with the major science societies in the U.S. Think of IEEE. I mentioned AAAS already, but our American Chemical Society, lots of big societies as well. NDIA would be on the list, especially when we sometimes, Mark, it's just, hey, we have, let's say it's the next variant or the most up to date on what's our status at hypersonics, let's say, and that may even be classified, but we need to talk to and say who could we talk to who's really deep in this space or could understand the issues pertaining to the questions. So we pride ourselves of being, obviously we talk to directly to the practitioners, the program ownership, and so on, like on Air Force, let's say. But we also like to talk to folks in the associations because that gives voice to industry as well. From just the practitioner community, those who have lots of experience with things. So yes, helping us means just helping us get smart on are these the right questions sometimes. Sometimes it's we have the questions, but we need help answering them. That's what help often looks like for us.
Excellent. So, Tim, I have to tell you, one of the reasons we created the Emerging Technologies Institute is we had a profound belief in the importance of applying technical knowledge for developing public policy, especially in the defense sector. And I have to tell you that everything you've described is really quite reassuring. Having a smart group of technically capable individuals helping develop that public policy. Gosh, what an important mission for our nation. So thank you for what you're doing. As I said, I know our members are going to be really interested in following your work and in tapping into your reports, and I think they're also, as I mentioned, going to be very eager to support what you do and support your mission and support your products. So So thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thanks. You're welcome, and it's my pleasure. Let me just invite the members also because there's like statisticians will call type one or type two errors, right? Mathematics.
Mm,
We want to know what we're missing sometimes. Like what are some emerging things that one of the things I mentioned for my team particularly, but I think GAO in general is what are we not doing, right? The Comptroller General is concerned about that. We always have things we have to deal with, but we're trying to be as lean forward as we can to help out at this time, especially with rapid innovation and things like that. So I would invite the membership if there's thought, we're we're of course staunchly independent. Like what we do has to be independent in terms of what we do. No one can say, here's what we need you to say, etc. That's not how we work. But ideas are certainly welcome. Have you thought about this? Did you know that this we think NDI or NDIA or its membership says we think X, Y, and Z is coming and we might not be as ready as we need to nationally for that. Well, we want to have that conversation and listen to those thoughts or those inputs. That's part of what we're here to do, and the ultimate goal is to do right by the country. Yeah, let me just put that standing invitation there because we do need help in that area also, as well as, hey, we have a topic. Can you help us think through how to do it or how to answer it? Sometimes it's we don't even know. What do you think is a big deal?
yeah, excellent. And Tim, I'll let that be the last word for our podcast because unfortunately we've run out of time, and as 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 often happens with these podcasts, I feel I could go on for another several hours just picking your brain and learning more about what you're doing. But thank you so much for joining us again. Thank you for your organization, for the role that you fill, and appreciate your spending time with us for this segment.
It's my pleasure, Mark. Thanks for having me on, and thanks to your membership for what they do. And I look forward to building that relationship with you all.